Hey folks, welcome back to the Korcek Connection. I'm Matt Korcek. This is where faith, family, hard work, and real life come together through honest conversation with people from all walks of life. So pull up a chair, let's get connected. Hey folks, welcome back to the Korcek Connection. I just want to say I'm sorry about the last couple of weeks. I haven't gotten any of the podcasts out to you guys. I've been busy working on a number of different things, also with having had Jennifer in the hospital and what have you. There's just been a lot of medical things we've been having to take care of, different appointments and what have you. But hey, we're back. We're rolling. I'm gonna try and keep on the ball with this now and get an episode out every other week. I'm gonna hope to try and get up to every week if I can. But we appreciate the prayers that you all have had for us lately. You know, Jennifer is feeling down in the dumps. She has unfortunately just been having a lot of issues with dizziness and what have you. So she is restricted from driving. Thank God for our oldest. He has been an absolutely amazing helping to take care of things. But next week school starts back up, so she'll be have to learn how to drive at least short trips here soon. But it is what it is. Anyways, so a lot of my friends have been asking me things about, why are you starting a podcast? What is your reasoning behind all this? I have felt, as I said in my first podcast, but actually, let me back up a little bit here. Sorry. This podcast is going to go in depth about who we are as Korcek Connection, not just the podcast name, but the company itself, why we're starting this podcast, and what this all means to us, what is the future, and everything else that we're going on to. So that's a lot of what this podcast will be about. So just little future information for tidbit information for you guys. So why I started this podcast, I believe that I've been called by God to start it, um, to reach whoever needs to be reached. To It's an area for me to profess my faith. I am not somebody who is comfortable going and standing on the corner of the street, holding a sign, professing my faith and what have you. And honestly, those type of people that do that are, unfortunately, by today's society, labeled as crazy, and that is not something that it's not a good thing that happens, unfortunately, but it does happen. I listen to a lot of different podcasters, uh, Dave Ramsey and his show and his group, Glenn Beck, um, Lars Larson, and I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh. For those of you that remember that guy, absolutely amazing, amazing man. And none of them really hit what I'm looking for. Um, I'm looking to be the person that I have a real conversation with people. If you want to call into the show, or if you want to schedule a call with me, or you send emails or whatnot, I'm looking to have a real one-on-one conversation with you. I am not any better than any one person. All of us are human, all of us are fallible completely. So that's why I'm making this. It's a different style of podcast than what I've heard out there. Now, maybe there is somebody out there that's doing this type of podcast, and you know what? That's totally cool. Um, Everybody has something different that they like to listen to, and maybe my podcast will hit differently with other people than what those ones do. Always front and foremost, I am going to be doing my best to keep God centered in this, because that is my faith, and that is who guides me, and what I need to be constantly professing. So, pillars of our company, Korcek Connection is a full brand. It's not just the podcast. It covers my photography business. I'm starting to dabble in music. I've actually got two songs that have been released and are now available. So I'm dabbling in music. Jennifer is dabbling in cooking with the Korcheks, which is under the Korcek Connection branding. My children are also starting to dabble in some stuff. My son does Minecraft, things of that nature. So our four pillars are faith, family, hard work, and real life. And I'm going to go through and explain each one of those. Why we choose for faith to be the first in our pillars. Um, it is not first because it's easy. Faith is not something that is easy at all. Um, you know, for us, there are a lot of times in our past, and I'm sure there will be in our future as well, and some going on now, where faith is the only thing we have to rely on. We have faith that there is a reason that God has allowed this medical stuff to happen to Jennifer. She does not have any understanding as to why this is happening. Um, she's having to deal with it, and we did find that there is a hereditary thing in there. She, unfortunately, she does have this. It's called a factor five. I don't even understand what it is, but basically, if you have, most people have zero. You can have one marker, which is either from mom or dad, usually mom in that case, and it makes it so it's harder for you to. It's easier for your body to throw blood clots, and then if you have two, you're considered really high risk, and you have to be on excessive blood thinners for the rest of your life. She currently does. She's being told she has to be on blood thinners or anticoagulants, as they call them, for the rest of her life. Unfortunately, but she only has one factor, and there's no understanding as to what made it suddenly flare up now because she's had two kids. She's injured herself at work. She's had bruising. She's had all these different things that go on with life. Never had any problems. So what all of a sudden now is causing this to be a problem? There's not a blooming thing that we know of. So that's just that is something that we're going to have to continue to try and figure out what's going on and keep going to doctors. So we have faith that there is a reason God is allowing all this to happen, that He knows the outcome of this, even if we do not. And that's okay. That is something that we have had to learn to be okay with and take on faith. You know, uh, we've all had financial issues from time to time. And for us, that is something that, again, that we just rely on faith that God will, as long as we are faithful to Him, that He will provide and help us to get through. I had military service. We moved across the country. Just a lot of times that we've had, maybe seasons of where there's more questions than there are answers. But through all of it, our faith reminds us that God is still in control, even when life makes absolutely no sense. We never talk about faith because it's something that's popular. It isn't. I mean, people ask how you believe in God. Okay, well, what makes you have faith in Him? You can't see Him. You don't see nothing. My response back is, you don't see the wind either, but you see the effects of the wind. So the wind is there, even if you cannot physically see it. So how does that differ from knowing that God is there, even though you can't see God? Everything, a house, a building, you know, your life is all built on a foundation. In this case, for us, faith is our foundation that everything is built on. Hence the reason that you've got to constantly make sure that your faith is solid. Because if it is not, you start having the same as a house being built on the sand. And houses or buildings built on sand without a solid foundation underneath them, they will crumble. That is something that you don't want to have happen. Um, the next in our pillars was family. And family is next in our set of pillars because at the end of the day, everything that we do from day start to day end is for our family. I this last week we had a job. We had to be in Virginia for a job at 2 o'clock in the morning. We had to be in to get our trucks loaded, starting between 12:30 and 1, depending on what time everybody came in. So I was up at 10:30 the night before, getting ready to go to work. Did I like it? No. Do I want to be doing that? No. But I do it for family. I do it for my wife. I do it for my kids. It's uh it's for, you know, that's what you do for family. So, um and I'm not doing this podcast to try and build our brand. I'm doing this podcast as something that my wife, my kids, maybe my grandchildren even someday, it's something they can look back on and be proud of. They can look back and they can go, "Hey, let's listen to these and find out who granddad was." Or who was our great granddad? Oh, that's cool. He talked with people or whatever the case is. This whole recording the podcast, recording the conversations I have with people and putting them out there is a sort of documentation, if you will, or a history. I want to preserve conversations with people so that they're stories that someone else has that they want to talk about. Someone else has something they want to talk about with me, and these will be preserved. And I'd like to say for all time, but let's face it, that technology comes in waves and changes and what have you. So at some point, the technology to play these may be obsolete. But hopefully at that point, that podcast that might be popular or what will have changed technologies and still be out there. So the history will still be there for people. Um, One thing to always remember, family is not just who shares your last name. In fact, sometimes those who share your last name come to a point where they are no longer family for whatever one reason or the other. I mean, it's an extreme case, but it does happen. Now, family is people who are there to love and support you and walk through life with you. I've got a friend of mine at work right now. He has had some very, very hard things happen to him in the last couple of weeks. Uh, he's had a family. His father has passed. He's been in a couple of accidents, none of which were his fault. Had some lost stuff in a fire. I mean, it's just been one thing after another. And this guy still shows up to work. Happy, be there. He's laughing. He's being cool with you guys. I know he's hurting inside. So I do the best I can to be there for him as a friend, as a brother. Is he related to me? Not even in the remotely, but I'm still doing the best I can to be there for him and to pray for him and to let him know that he's loved. That's family. That's that's you know, my opinion definition of family. Our third pillar is hard work. Why hard work? Anything hard that's worth doing is worth doing right. And hard work has always been a part of my story. That anytime that I've found that work was easy, I have found that the work has not been fulfilling. Now, this has been for me. Everybody is different. But for me, I've turned wrenches on a KC 135 in the Air Force. I drive a concrete mixer. I've been learning how to do music production from scratch, building websites, recording these podcasts, recording the uh, songs that I've been working on. I had to learn how to be a truck driver, learning how to be a father. I mean, that learning how to be a father is one of the scariest things in the world, I think. To me, there is no manual on how to become a parent. You just have to learn on the fly. I mean, thank God there are lots of people that are coming to your life that can help you, but being, you know, a mother or father is just not something that comes with a manual. Something you got to learn, and it can be hard to do. Um, there are not many shortcuts in life that are worth taking. Most of the time, at least in my experience, when you've taken a shortcut, you find that it comes at a cost. Now, you have to judge and decide for yourself, is that cost something I'm worth paying or is this shortcut worth it? Now, admittedly, there are times that it is. But most of the time, I have found that those shortcuts do not add up to a hill of beans in total of everything. But each person must decide that for themselves. And hard work really builds a character of a person. You can tell a lot by a person by their character. And a lot of times that does not, if they've always had it easy in life, a lot of times they think that everything is supposed to be easy and they don't understand when they come up to a problem that there is sometimes hard work is involved in getting to the bottom of that and fixing said problem. And then this brings us to our last pillar, real life. I recognize the term real life is kind of strange, but for us, I think it might be the most important pillar of all because we are not interested in pretending everything is perfect. There is no such thing as perfect unless you're looking at God and you're looking at Christ. Beyond that, we are all made, yes, we are all made in the image of God. And in that aspect, we are made perfectly. But that is the only aspect. After that, everything goes to heck in a handbasket because we all have some type of health issue or another that we end up having to deal with throughout our lives. We all have, you know, say weight problems or dietary problems or problems with work, problems with family, life, etc. I mean, there are always going to be problems. There's nothing that is perfect. Real life is about celebrating victories. What victories? Well, so a while back, number of years back, after we had our daughter, Jen started having some back problems. Now, back up a little bit. Back in 2011, she was hit by a truck while she was riding her bicycle, and at the time they didn't find any damage. Fast forward a number of years, come to find out that incident had caused a piece of her spine to a piece of her vertebrae to break off, and ended up that it was actually poking a hole through the leather-like sheath that is around your spinal column that protects it. Well, it was poking a hole into that, and it kept pressing on one of the nerves and causing her to have problems. So eventually, we were able to get surgery, and surgery went perfect. They got it all taken care of. But that's what I mean, celebrating victories. That was a victory for us because after that, after her healing period, she was able to do most anything and everything that she had not been able to do in a long time. That was a victory that we celebrated. Here recently, my son getting his license. That's real life. It was a struggle for him to learn how to properly drive and whatnot, but he was able to get his license and he's doing awesome. That's a victory. You know, anything and everything in your life can be a victory depending on how it's looked at. And you really have to learn to make victories in your life, as silly as it sounds. Because if you are always struggling, you're always looking, okay, okay, this is done. Oh no, what's the next thing? Okay, oh no, what's the next thing? Okay, oh no, that's it. You will constantly go from fight or flight to fight or flight to fight or flight. Your body will never have a chance to calm down, collect itself, and heal, quote unquote, because your body does need to heal after a fight or flight moment. You need to try and find victories for you to celebrate. But this also means talking honestly about disappointment, mistakes, fear, loss, and the lessons that come from them. Everything in our life that doesn't go our way, there is a lesson to be found in it. If you're a Christian, that means that God did not intend for that to be where you need to be right now. Now, that is not to say that God is the one that, causes stuff to happen because Satan is allowed to play in the same world where we live. But it means that there is a lesson in there for you to learn, and it means that you actually should be thankful for whatever did happen because maybe it kept something worse from happening. You also all of us need to learn to laugh together. Laughing, I don't know if anybody has ever noticed this, is one of the absolute best medicines for the body. Laughing hard can make your body take in excess oxygen that it has not taken in a long time. It can force you to breathe deeper than you have in quite some time. And while, yes, that does hurt sometimes, it is making you exchange oxygen out of your lungs that has not been exchanged fully in a very long time. So that in and of itself is healthier. You're pulling more oxygen in, your lungs are absorbing more oxygen, and because you're laughing and whatnot, your muscles are helping to move more blood around to move to your heart. Your heart's pumping the blood a little bit faster because you're excited and you're laughing. All in all, it's a really good thing for you. And that can help to heal your body. On the opposite side though, it also means that real life we need to learn to cry together. Crying by yourself, well, I recognize a lot of people want to be by themselves, and when they cry, they want to be a loner. Um, crying together with another person, your best friend, or even a coworker, like I've been, trying to be for this guy that I work with, being a shoulder to cry on or having a shoulder to cry on is very helpful for us. Um, it lets us know that we are not alone. It lets you know in that moment that somebody else does care about you, even just as a friend, and it gives you support that you might need in that moment. And your heart is opening itself up to this person, even just in that moment, to show that to give you comfort and to give you support. Sorry, my brain just totally went to left field on that one. I'm not sure why. I was right there, and then it ran away. It ran away with a spoon, as uh, my wife's mom used to say about some things. Ran away with a spoon. Sorry about that. Anyways, um, we also have to be willing to admit that we don't have all the answers. I know that sucks. It really sucks. I mean, that's what we're facing right now. Is the doctors just telling us constantly, "Well, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know why this is happening. We don't know why this is happening." Well, dadgum, somebody needs to have the answer somewhere. But yeah, all of these things, laughing together, crying together, recognizing you don't have the answers, celebrating victories with each other, they are all real connections. They will bring together a real connection in your life with somebody else. And that is the biggest takeaway I hope you can have from this. It is difficult to understand that, and it is difficult to recognize that, but and it sounds silly, but our bodies are designed to have real connections with people. And I'm not talking about sexual connections, or physical connections with somebody. I'm talking about an emotional, social connection with somebody else. We are social beings. I don't care if somebody says I like to be a loner. Okay, great. You think you like to be a loner, but we were designed as social beings. At one point or another in your life, you will come to find out that you like to be around people. I'm not saying crowds of 100,000 people or even 10,000 people. I'm saying, one-on-one connections, one on two, one on three, whatever, the case is with you and your group of friends. So that wraps up kind of a flyover of our four pillars. Now, why these four pillars? Well, when you take away the microphones, the cameras, the songs, the cooking, the logo, for us at Korcek Connection, that is who we still are. Faith, family, hard work, and real life. Everything else is just the way we choose to share the journey with others. There are so many ways of communication and sharing a journey with folks. We are we are encompassing adventure on a lot of them, but that's who we are. We're never ones to just take, hey, let's try and focus on this thing. We always take, hey, look, Oh, this looks good. Let's go. Have fun. So, we'll see what happens there. But now, when you look up Korcek Connection and then you hear that, well, okay, that's Korcek Connection is the name of the show, but that's also the name of a website of a brand. Why? Instead of where, say, like the Ramsey Show, they have the Ramsey Show is part of Ramsey Solutions, or what used to be Dave Ramsey. Um, and so that kind of separates out the reason that we're doing all this music photography podcast under one name. For us, it's easier to have one parent name. We're not creating separate brands, and we're hoping that we build this in such a way that when somebody say, "Hey, I heard about the Korcek Connection. Let's look that up," and they look, go on the good old Google and look up Korcek Connection. They'll be able to get a nice broad spectrum of podcast, music, photography, maybe cooking, and whatever else comes along down the line that will speak to them. And maybe they'll find one thing that they like better than the other. No, I was looking for podcasts, but I love cooking. What's this cooking stuff going on over here? And they'll find out whatever we're doing in cooking. We're doing, I don't know, brisket, or whatever the case may be. Brisket, that sounds good. I'm gonna go get me some Bucky's. Yum. No, I am not affiliated. So that'd be cool. Hey, Bucky's, want to affiliate? That'd be cool. So these are all not separate parts of our life. They are what make up all of us. They are different expressions of our same life, of our same people who we are. I like to tell stories. I mean, through song. It's something I very much enjoy. It is difficult because I am not a songwriter. Admittedly, I am utilizing programs to help me write the songs. I know the story I'm trying to tell. I have the ideas in my head. Putting thought to paper or typing has never been real easy for me to do, even in high school. So I'm utilizing programs to explain, here's the thoughts I'm having. How do I try and morph this into a song? Or into at least the lyrics, and then from lyrics to the song, and then from, et cetera, et cetera. Just it's very process. It's a heck of a process. It's interesting. Photography. If you were to go to my um my stuff on either our webpage, korczekconnection.com, or even if you want to go further into that, I do have a link on there. But if you want to go to Fine Arts America, and look up Matthew Korcek or Korcek Connection, you'll see all the different types of stuff that I like to take pictures of. Photography for me is capturing moments, either moments in life that matter or peaceful or whatever type of moments in nature. I mean, I'm always trying to photograph stuff, whether it's with my phone or with my Canon camera, or sometimes with my tablet. It just kind of depends on what I have on me at the time, but they're always capturing the moments that matter, and I'm trying to preserve them for some time. I mean, I've got a hard drive that has a terabyte of pictures of the last 20 years of mine and Jen's life. You know, Granted, we've been together since 2012, then we started dating, but this encompasses, the last 20 years of both of our lives. And those are all memories that are preserved. So that's what photography is for me. Let's see here. The podcast lets me sit down with people. They'll let me hear stories behind moments that happen. Maybe I'll meet up with them, capture that moment on film. I mean, one of my goals is to start doing this podcast with a video. Glenn Beck, Dave Ramsey. Not sure about Lars Larson, but there's a number of different people that their podcast not only encompasses an audio portion of it, but you can actually go and you can watch the whole podcast with them. And that is a goal of mine here in the next probably year to get to that point. And maybe with whatever's going on, I get inspired to write a song about it. I mean, that's always a possibility. We'll see. I mean, the kitchen projects that we're doing, is cooking with the Korczeks. Again, gathering around the table as a family is the ultimate goal. You cook something that is really delicious, really amazing, and your goal at the end of that is that you have family that gathers around the table and wants to sit there and partake of whatever it was that was made. So that's part of our kitchen projects there. Everything that we're doing is connected. All these different identities might be there, but there is one home for all of it, and that is the Korcek Connection. The connection isn't just about being between podcasts, music, and photography, or even the kitchen. It's about connecting between people, between generations, between faith and everyday life. From where we've been to where God's taking us, and everything in between. All comes back to those four same pillars of faith, family, hard work, and real life. So I hope that's a little bit of a takeaway for you guys. I think I've talked about why preserving these stories matter, because I want to preserve history. I want to preserve documentation of everything that's going on with folks, whether it's just us, people calling in, people's questions, us out and about with folks, whatever the case may be. I'm hoping in 5 years that, I have no aspirations of becoming as big as Ramsey Solutions. If God leads us that way and God allows, glory, glory, hallelujah. Um, and more power to him, because I sure as heck don't have the business know-how to do that. But, in 5 years, I hope that this podcast is reaching, let's say, 5 million people. That would just blow my mind. In 5 years, if I'm have an audience of 5 million people, that's amazing. In 5 years, I hope to have at least one record out, actual one album out. I hope to have hopefully several hundred videos on Korcek Connections for cooking with Korceks. We'll see. And at that point, maybe we'll even have a nice website set up that navigate things a lot easier. You'll be able to order things a lot easier if that is your desire. But we'll see. I would love to have 5 million followers in 5 years. I would love to have 10 million followers in 5 years. That would be amazing. But we'll see where God takes us. But always remember that what God has for us, what God has for you, and where God's taking you. That is ultimately, you need to be aware of what God has for you and where he's taking you. So anyways, here is a sample of my song Always an Airman, and I hope you guys enjoy.
I was amazed, once an airman, always an airman. More than a uniform, it's where I began. More than a chapter in my story, it made me who I am. And I still salute, oh glory, I still bow my head and pray. Those years taught me how to stand, and I still stand that way.
All right. Well, if you guys enjoyed that, please go ahead and feel free to go to any one of the streaming services that you use. Take a look for Matthew Korcek Music, or even Always an Airman. That is the name of that song. And it will be up there for you on most streaming services. I know for sure I found it on iTunes, Amazon, as well as Spotify, and it should be on others. So go ahead and go give that a listen. It'd be appreciated. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Keep your faith, trust God with your path, and we'll see you next time here on the Korcek Connection. God bless. Have a great day.
Back in 07, life was moving fast. Fresh out basic, ready at last. First duty station, chasing a dream. Never knew how much that blue would mean. Head held high, thought I knew it all. I was an airman standing proud and tall. The good Lord smiled, he already knew. Life had a few more miles to put me through. Washington mornings, frost on the ground, walking through the shop, just looking around. First duty station in a brand new place. Awe and amazement on this young kid's face. Those giant tires had me staring for days, to say the least. I was amazed. Once an airman, always an airman. More than a uniform, it's where I began. More than a chapter in my story, it made me who I am. And I still salute, oh glory. I still bow my head and pray. Those years taught me how to stand, and I still stand that way. Then we drove out to where the runway meets the sky. KC-135's all in line waiting to fly. Jet fuel and exhaust hanging in the air. The smell still takes me right back there. The runway ramp was shaking before they made their climb. I knew then I was where I belonged. Then came Qatar beneath that desert sun. Long days reminding me why the job gets done. Came home with a different worldview. Funny what a little time can do. My new mission at home was to be a dad. I won't lie, that scared me more than the sandbox ever had. Looking back now, I understand. He always had me in his hands. Some roads turned where I couldn't see, but the good Lord never gave up on me. The uniform hangs in the closet now, but my heart still holds that sacred vow. I will always be at the ready, and know that I stand steady. Once an airman, always an airman. More than a uniform, it's where I began. More than a chapter in my story, it made me